Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest info about hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. This episode is brought to you by GSM Outdoors, whose vision is to preserve the sportsman's legacy, fuel innovation, and enable the next generation of outdoor enthusiasts. Think outside. That's where you'll find us. Now, make welcome your host, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. We're glad you're tuning in. We thank you for watching, for listening, and all that kind of stuff. We got Mr. Don King hanging out with us today.
Jason, thanks for the invite. Looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
Hearing about the deer season, the past deer season.
Yeah, we're going to touch on the past season and kind of highlight some numbers and get some recap on that. But we got Dr. Adam Edge with us today.
It's all right. Thank you for having me.
I just learned, or just got clarification that he's a doctor. That's cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the doctor's in the house.
I don't push it too much. I forget about it myself.
That's a good dose of humility there.
Yeah, for sure. Adam's our deer program coordinator and been with us for a little while now, and we're going to meet him. This is the first time he's been on WildCast, so it'll be a fun day.
That's right. Yeah, I guess I've only been here for, about 10 months so far.
Yeah.
So I started this position back in April of last year around the commission season setting time. And, man, it's been a whirlwind, and I've learned a lot along the road.
Learned a lot. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So before we dive too deep, radio station, Don, you want to highlight a radio station?
Right here locally, WTN here in Nashville. We're on at 10 o'clock on Saturday mornings, and we appreciate them. They're 99.7 FM, and if you listen to that station and one of their sister stations, you'll hear some promos about the show and about what's coming up and that kind of thing. So, and when it's time to buy your license and all those kinds of things. So
and we'll keep those reminders pushing, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's always good to buy a license. Did you know if you buy a license in Tennessee, you're supporting the fish and the wildlife and conservation right here in the state. So that's why it's important to buy a license. And we maybe don't say that enough. So go purchase a license. And then also our magazine. You can purchase it out there, GoOutdoorsTennessee.com.
Right.
Subscribe to that. Great content coming out every quarter. And you'll get the calendar too. So.
Right.
Real quick, this year sponsored by GSM Outdoors. We appreciate them for jumping in and sponsoring us and sending us guests, but also sending us cool gear to give away. And we're right in the middle of the fishing package. We had a fishing show just recently, and there's still time to get your name in the hat for that. So really encourage you to subscribe and follow us on YouTube, so you can watch the show and learn all that stuff. But if you tag somebody on there, that's probably going to be the easiest way for you to get your name in the hat. So tag us tag a friend in the comments. Tag a friend in the comments on Facebook and Instagram, and that way we see that you're interested.
Yeah.
So go back and watch that previous show and get your name in the hat.
See what all's in that package too.
Yeah,
they covered a lot of ground. Well, you could fish just about anywhere in the country with the stuff that they've got in that box.
And that's just a drop in the bucket,
right?
From what we're going to be covering throughout the year. We'll have some more fishing and more fun stuff for you. So, all right, we're going to jump in here with Adam. Adam, you mentioned 10 months new to the agency and knee deep in the deer program and all the fun stuff going on up in wildlife. But tell us a bit about your background.
Yeah, so I born and raised in Kentucky. I grew up a big Daniel Boone guy, but I guess I got to be a Davy Crockett guy now.
That's right.
So I went to Western Kentucky University and got my bachelor's in biology there. Was able to do some cool experiences there. As far as wildlife goes, I thought I wanted to go medical route until I took chemistry.
Yeah.
And I was out on that. So I was actually able to get on board and do some research work with elephants in South Africa for a little while.
Wow.
I worked in Alaska doing some sockeye salmon escapement counts. And so I had a lucky go for my bachelor's degree working on that.
Wow, that's awesome.
Following that's when I truly got into more of the big game management of deer, turkey, that realm. And I worked on several projects across about 3 years, doing deer capture, turkey capture, ecology projects, tracking survival, reproduction for different universities. Finally, I was accepted to grad school at University of Georgia at their deer research lab there, and ended up staying for my PhD for about 6 years there.
Wow.
And
Long
working
stint.
on a deer project there. And following that, it was I worked as a postdoc for about 6 months with Southeastern Cooperative Wildlife Disease Study and looking at some turkey disease impact stuff before getting hired on with TWRA.
Awesome.
Back to the deer world that I really enjoy.
All right.
So did you grow up in the outdoors, hunting and fishing and all that kind of stuff? What led you to it?
I did. It started with a similar story to most hunters, I would say. Dad, Grandpa took me out. Started with squirrel hunting. I was carrying a shotgun at 6 years old, and started deer hunting, really carrying my own weapon and all that, and took my first deer at 8 years old. And
Awesome.
Since then, it's really been this cherished tradition to go back and hunt with my dad in
Nice.
Kentucky, and now I'm closer to doing that, so it really helps out.
All right. Yeah.
So yeah, and really a part of me wanting to go into this field is I wanted to be a part of preserving and sustaining that experience that I had as a kid growing up to these next generations. So I hope that tradition carries on with future fathers and sons.
Right. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I just got back from the NWTF convention. I visited there for one of the days and ran into a group there that was promoting a father and son hunting weekends and stuff in Alabama, and I was like, man, that'd be fun to do with your son. And
Yeah.
anyway, there's a lot of cool stuff out there to get families outdoors, but there's also a lot of distractions, electronics and things like that.
Oh man,
that keep
even more
them
so
from it.
now. Yep.
But even electronics that are fun to like video games where you're hunting, and makes it more fun, makes it a little more interactive. But you got to get them
I
outside.
had my black and white Game Boy in the 90s.
Oh yeah. Pong. Remember Pong?
That's
Yeah.
right. Well,
I don't remember that
remember
one.
that
Oh,
one.
okay. All right.
Take us back, Doc.
I'm really dating myself, aren't I? Todd, I've cracked him up over here. Our producer, he's doubled over.
Yeah, that's great. Pong.
You've heard the grandpa talk about that.
Yeah,
right?
definitely,
okay.
definitely. Well, awesome. Well, let's dive into our topic today. We were going to just kind of recap the deer season, talk some numbers and things like that. But statewide, we had a pretty good year on deer harvest. So jump into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've just been crunching some numbers here, and this year was the highest harvest in the state of Tennessee since the 2013-2014 season.
Wow.
So we hit about 170,000 harvests this year.
Wow.
This wasn't unique. I talked to some other state deer biologists in surrounding states, and many of those states are seeing the same thing this year. Just
Well,
high harvest.
that's
Yeah.
encouraging that maybe more people are getting outdoors. I don't know if that's what you think. Just participation was up because of what? Do you know? Have you heard or
Yeah,
speculation?
I do suspect that hunter participation was up. There was some different things going on this season. We know there was somewhat of a moderate to lower acorn crop this year in certain areas, so deer were probably moving a lot more. Weather situation, there was a lot of moisture early in the year. It was warmer, and I think that kind of jumbled all the hunters towards the back end of the season, and they made up for it.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as the hunter participation, I think it is increased this year, which is great. And the reason I suggest that is kind of the deer per hunter that we know about is about 1.7 deer per successful hunter.
Okay.
So that's every hunter on average harvests less than 2 deer a year, which is kind of amazing to think about.
Yeah.
'Cause you-
When there's so much opportunity.
yes, especially in this state.
Yeah.
So that hasn't changed really in the last 5 or 6 years. So this harvest going up, it kind of points, if that's the same, there must be more hunters out there.
Yeah.
We'll know more about this when we get some of these hunter surveys out. They were actually just distributed online to a certain few randomly selected hunters, about 30,000.
So it's
So if you got one, you're special.
Yeah.
Be sure and fill it out.
That's right.
Get it back to us.
a sample set there that kind of helps y'all gauge and study that. Yeah.
Exactly. And it goes in depth more than just the hunter harvest check-in. We ask things about how many days they spent in the field, what weapon types they used, just how much harvest they had in general. And we can get more in the effect of what their effort was and how many participating hunters we have. Because currently with our license structure, we don't truly know how many deer hunters are out there. So this can help us get at that.
Yeah.
Well, I know the harvest was up for my family. Tucker harvested 2 deer this year. I didn't get to shoot because he carried the gun in the woods. But so anyway, we added 2 to the bucket there on that one.
Hey, that's good. Put that in the freezer.
Yeah, we definitely
That
did.
was my number as well this year.
Well, speaking of that, how have you enjoyed hunting in Tennessee? Was it Tennessee hunts that?
So actually, these were Georgia deer. But
Man, we got to get you out there.
well, it was a whirlwind when I moved up here. Like I said, I got married. I got a new job. My wife got a new job. We had to find a place to live.
Oh, yeah.
And man, it
And
was
you
just
had to work.
constant struggle. But I did get about 3 days out on one of the WMAs nearby.
Cool.
And I think I saw a spike and a 2.5-year-old, about 6 point. But I let them walk.
Yeah, awesome. That's cool to hear you getting out there on public land too.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a public land hunter. That's what I do. That's what I did in Georgia a lot, and that's the challenge of it.
I bet next year will be a different story because he's got a lot of that groundwork laid now. The infrastructure is there,
Hey, if someone needs some does taken off, I've got an empty freezer. So.
Yeah.
All right. There you go.
For sure. We'll just we'll fill up a van and go. He said.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, let's dive into some of the new stuff. And the new stuff, and we mentioned this, talked about it on our show, but the new management units. But talk about the deer management units a little bit.
Yeah. So as we know, it's these units are new. Their development was actually based on a lot of the science and landscape structure in the background. So the point of these units is to have consistent units where environment, landscape structure, harvest metrics, deer biology, as far as reproductive timing, coincide as much as possible at a scale that we can actually get the data we need to represent that area.
Right.
And this is kind of where these DMUs have come from. So the great thing about it is it is actually backed by data and science based off previous harvest and just the landscape of Tennessee. Now, are they perfect? There are some county boundaries. We know these are political. They were made without deer in mind. So
Imagine that.
imagine. So, but they do fit this goal very well.
Definitely.
And hopefully these can remain consistent. So we're actually comparing apples to apples in a sense of these deer populations through time.
Yeah.
And be able to monitor their natural fluctuations because there's more than hunter harvest that has to do with how these populations work.
Well, and some boundaries may have changed, some lines here and there, but the number of units that we had didn't change. I think they stayed relatively the same to the previous seasons, and so it's very similar to what you were used to. But I think it went well this year. I didn't hear a lot of issues throughout the year. So.
And kudos to the Wildlife Division for coming up with these. You guys have poured your hearts into this effort, to really get down and accurate with your counts and all.
Right. Yeah, a lot of this groundwork was luckily set before I got here, so I'm riding on everybody's backs right now, and hopefully can improve things where they need improved and get that data collection really
Good
going
deal.
at this point. So.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, top counties. So what? How did we fall there? Do you want to mention the top counties harvest this year?
Yeah, I think this is what everybody enjoys, huh?
Yeah.
Should we get a drum roll?
There you go.
Yeah, so these top 10 counties, it's not as big of a surprise as most think. Looking back through time, these counties are fairly consistent. Order changes. That Giles County, number one.
Okay.
I think it's held that title a few times now.
Yep.
And, with that harvest around 4,300, 4,400 is what we're looking at there. Second, we got Lawrence. And then we have Sumner. And both of those were around that 3,800 range.
So that jumped from the bottom of the state to the top of the state there.
Yeah.
Right. And but I will say, when I get through this, there is some consistencies. A lot of it's Middle Georgia or Middle Tennessee.
Middle Georgia.
Oh man! I need to.
No! Here, you got to rub this little orange pig since you did
Yeah.
that. That's my Tennessee. That's my Tennessee pig.
I'll do it for you.
May have to drop a quarter in.
But yeah, then we got Henry County at 3,700.
Okay.
Franklin, 3,600. Murray County, that's how it's pronounced here. Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
I gotta
got
figure
it.
these counties
I
out.
heard a joke though one time. It was Murray instead of Murray. That was a fun one. Yeah, no, it's Murray.
Good. I got to figure it out. I'm learning. I got 95 counties to learn.
Yeah, you got your work cut out.
So yeah, Murray County's around 3,500, 3,600. Lincoln, we're looking at 3,300. Montgomery was around 3,200. Then coming in towards the end, we got Carroll, 3,200, and Wilson was about 3,000.
All right.
So those are kind of your top five, and really that hasn't changed that much.
Yeah, it seems very similar to the past season.
Yeah,
staying right around that Middle Tennessee, Middle West kind of.
Yeah, and I kind of looked at a land cover map because me being new as well, I'm like, why is this focused? And something that was instantly observable to me is there's a lot of edge in Middle Tennessee. You got a lot of farm patches, but a lot of woods blocks in between, and there's just that Middle Tennessee area. It just looks different when you look at it on a satellite map.
Yeah, and there's a lot of big deer in the Middle Tennessee.
That's right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, people are after them. There's a lot of deer, period, but yeah, a lot of big ones too. Awesome. Well, I'm sure folks were encouraged by that, or maybe surprised. I don't know, but it's good to know those numbers and get that out there. So now the youth weekend, we had some successful hunters over the youth weekend. Not my son, but we were later in the year. But how did the youth weekends go?
Yeah, so overall, the young sportsman weekends, there was higher harvest in those this year as well compared to a few years prior. The first weekend got the most of the harvest. That's really got where a lot of the activity was for the young sportsmen.
Good time of year for the kids to get out there.
Oh yeah. It's a little cold that second weekend.
Yeah.
No. So the total this year was about 5,700.
Wow.
That first weekend held the majority of those. 4,100, and then the second weekend was about 1,600 or so.
Okay.
So, and then the year prior was 4,000. So we had a good jump.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
The
More
young
kids
ones
out.
got something in the freezer. So
might be a little bit of that R3 working too,
Hey,
Jason.
I'd say that's part of it.
Yeah.
too. Yeah. Recruit, retain, and
sure.
reactivate.
That's right.
Cool. That's great. All right. So let's dive into a little bit of CWD, I guess. We'll update folks on how just what the update is for CWD. Were there any additional counties added this year? Or?
there was, unfortunately. So we had Carroll County. So that makes it 18 counties total. This wasn't unexpected. You know, this county is still in the deer management, CWD management zone.
Okay.
So no regulations or anything changed as a result of this.
Right.
And that positive was actually on the county line of Henderson around Madison, which are already positive counties.
Yeah, okay.
So we hope it kind of stays within that compaction zone, which, unfortunately, Fayette and Hardman they remain that core area. Of all of our positives this year, it was like 80 or 90% still came from those core counties.
Well,
so
yeah,
not much change overall beyond that Carroll County.
Okay.
And the testing's still going on statewide.
That's right. Right. We've collected close to, let me get my cheat sheet here, about 15,000 samples statewide.
Okay.
That's with deer and elk. So no elk positives.
That's a great thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And yeah, all the positives have still been contained within the normal zone.
And you're still monitoring. You're still taking samples across the state too. You're not just in those areas, but there's still sampling happening.
Absolutely, yeah. Each county has a quota that we follow that follows a risk-based model system, basically developed by Cornell. And sampling will continue to take place even after the deer season. So road kills and
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we're still on the hunt. Yeah,
Okay.
we're still out there gathering samples.
Yeah. You guys never quit working. It's like 24/7.
That's right, and I got to put it out to the managers out there that are getting on these roadsides and the officers that are helping out with this process.
Definitely.
Yep.
All right. So one thing I love to talk about, and I like the refresher. This time of year, what do we need to be doing? What can we get into? And just kind of some biology here. deer lose their antlers this time of year, and this is a great time to be outside chasing, looking for antlers, and that kind of thing. So just dive into some of that stuff. Why it occurs.
That's right. Yeah, there's still some fun stuff to do, even though football and hunting season's over, deer season's over. Unless you're like me, you got the honeydew list to hit now.
Yep.
So yeah, the antler cycle. So we're at the point. Really peak in February where these antlers drop off. Now, how does this happen?
Are you kidding me? They drop off.
Yeah, they just drop off. And so, yeah, this is all dictated by day length. So as the days get longer now, which I'm glad of that.
Yeah, amen.
The deer can actually, their hormone levels will shift with that sunlight. The melatonin levels within their system shuts off testosterone production.
Okay.
And as it starts to drop, that is when the signal, there's this hormonal cocktail that signals that it's time for these antlers to pop off and come off.
Wow.
So that'll actually get on the pedicle, which is that hard, permanent bone on top of the skull. It'll activate these osteoclasts is what they're called.
Trust you.
And and that actually basically demineralizes the bone along that incision line, and that's what causes the antler to fall off.
Okay.
And there are millions of these cells, and that's why when you find a shed, the bottom of it is rough, and because that's all these osteoclasts that are demineralizing the bone structure.
Very
there.
Cool. I don't know if I've ever heard it explained that
me
way.
neither.
I like it.
And who are we to argue, right?
Hey, I'm constantly learning about it myself. It's
cool.
It's a very cool cycle.
And it happens randomly, right? I mean, some deer lose them earlier, some lose them late.
That's right. And, well, it's not necessarily random. Part of it is nutrition and environment. So a lot of the deer that are in better quality bucks following the rut, they may hold on to them a little longer, or those that are struggling a little more this time of year, they may drop them in January. So that's where February is still kind of that peak, and some may even hold it until March. Okay.
And then are the deer going to start changing, looking different? Or
yeah,
as you say,
yes.
yeah.
So
we may get calls sometimes, or people, this deer looks funny. It looks like it's sick or something. But things change.
There's a lot of calls that'll come in March, and a lot of that has to do. This deer looks like it's losing hair. It's patchy. It's ruffled looking. It's just rough looking. And I've had to explain this in the past, and the same thing happens in the fall. And what this is this transferring a molting, per se, of different coats. So the deer will start losing their winter coat in March, and the red summer coat will actually begin growing underneath of it. And this process, if the deer's in good condition, it's quick, and it'll only take a few days. But if there's poor condition, it'll take a little longer, but it'll give this deer this ruffled appearance and hair loss. But typically that is not the case, and it's a very common occurrence in March. That's when it'll happen.
Well, I've seen pictures and even driving the roads too, seeing them. The deer when they're in velvet come summer, their skin, their hair is really orange or red, and it's just totally different shade. Yeah, just two different coats changing 2 different times a year. But that's kind of when we get the calls of this deer's funny looking. Yeah. So when they drop those antlers, we got a few more minutes here. When they drop those antlers, where's some good places to find them? I'm gonna throw a few out there: fence rows, or places they may bump something or jump something. Or
you're gonna want to look for edge now. And now, to be fair, I'm not a super experienced shed hunter. Most of the time, I've spent this time of year catching deer, turkeys for various research reasons. But you really want to hit those edges just from talking to people. Fence rows, find some deer trails that there's a lot of activity. Recently, I read a paper that they were actually trying to measure the distance between matching sets.
Okay, cool.
And he found that you will find, at least in his study, that you will find a matching set within 100 yards. 50% of those sets are within 100 yards of each other. So if you find one, do your concentric circles and work out, and there's a high likelihood you'll find the match.
Well, it's a great time to be outside. It's not too hot. and it's you go look for sheds,
Right.
scout a little bit. Now's a great time to scout, look at trails, see what the deer patterns are right now, and kind of get an idea for next season. So
Yeah, that's right. And as far as just looking forward and kind of what these deer are going through right now, they are going through a nutritionally stressful period. That's what March is. That late summer or late winter, and acorns are pretty much ate up. A lot of the vegetation is gone. So just a couple things that you can do to kind of get these deer through is, there's still some green vegetation and honeysuckle and different vines and greenbriers, and cut some of these high up branches and let them drop and let deer eat this natural vegetation. Don't stomp through your known bedding areas, because deer are trying to conserve as much energy as they can right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let them stay bed. Don't disturb them this time of year.
yeah.
And they'll get through.
I feel that same way. I was listening to a podcast recently talking about, this is a good time to go scout even and get to know the woods even more, but I worry about that bumping them and messing with them this time of year and during the season. So, but
Right.
they were saying, don't be afraid to, you don't want to bump their beds, but don't be afraid to go in and scout and look and those deer will come back a lot of times, but
Right. Yeah. And to that point, they definitely will.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with scouting at this point. It's just something to look at. If you have known thick bedding area, kind of let that area alone and look between your other patches and trails that way.
Yeah.
great time to run some cameras and things like that to
Yep.
get
Exactly.
your eyes on them.
Keep the cameras going.
And there's still time to do some small game hunting, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
could do some
I mean, we've
squirrel
got a couple
hunting.
weeks.
Yeah, squirrel hunting through March 15th. So that's fun to be out during that time. I guess that's really the only thing open right now. Roughly, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, so it's
Yep. Get them dogs out.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great time to get kids out, get them used to shooting a gun, getting the sights on something, and bring some squirrels home to eat.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. Always has been. I
Good
love
eating.
Definitely. All right. Well, this has been fun. Adam, I think we covered it all here. Looking at my notes, I appreciate you jumping in here today. Welcome to the agency, and keep up the good work.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you all for having me.
Don, thank you.
Sure enough. Thank you, Adam, and keep up the great work.
Appreciate you, Don.
This is Tennessee WildCast. Keep coming back, keep watching, keep listening. Don't forget, we have got the GSM Outdoors Giveaways going on right now, so get your name in the hat for the great fishing package that's out there, and we'll have more in the future. So keep coming back. We'll see you next time.
Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. You can invest in Tennessee's wildlife future by purchasing a license at GoOutdoorsTennessee.com. That's GoOutdoorsTennessee.com.